My name is Emily Vance. I'm an ICU nurse at County General. My job isn't glamorous. It's 12-hour shifts, the harsh sting of disinfectant clinging to my hair, and bruises on my arms from lifting patients who weigh twice as much as I do. I earn every dollar with sweat, and sometimes blood, to pay the mortgage on the house my husband David loves bragging to his friends about as our home. But this afternoon, that home turned into a courtroom. 4:30 p.m., Friday. I dragged myself out of the hospital, my feet swollen inside my work Crocs. Today's shift was a nightmare. 2 cardiac arrests back to back. I was so exhausted I just wanted to go home and sleep before picking up our child. The second I got into the car, my phone started exploding. A flood of messages from David. "You liar! I can't believe I married a whore. Don't you dare step into my bedroom again." I panicked and sped home. When I burst through the door, sweaty, my scrub still marked with a tiny smear of dried blood at the hem, I saw David sitting at the dining table drinking wine. Next to him sat Chloe, his unemployed younger sister, the one who's always been jealous of me. "David? What is going on?" I panted. David didn't answer. He slammed a stack of photos onto the table. "What? Scared? Scared I found out you were sneaking around at the Ritz-Carlton instead of working those brutal shifts you're always complaining about?" I froze and picked up the photos. In them was a woman with chestnut brown hair loosely tied back like mine, wearing a white silk robe, holding a glass of red wine on a luxury hotel balcony with a strange man. And under her left earlobe, there was a small black mole. My mole. "This. What the hell is this?" I stammered. "Stop acting, sis," Chloe chimed in, dripping with contempt. "Vanessa, David's ex, just happened to be having lunch at the Ritz today. She saw you check into room 304 at 1 p.m., so she took pictures. You're always whining about the hospital being busy, but I guess you were busy servicing some rich guy instead?" Chloe held out her phone and showed me Vanessa's text thread. "Time sent, 1:15 p.m. today." "David," I said, staring at my husband, my voice shaking with anger. "Look at me. Smell the disinfectant on me. Do I look like I just came back from sipping wine at the Ritz-Carlton?" "You could have showered and changed," David snapped. "Vanessa has no reason to lie. And that mole, you can't mistake it. That overtime money you claim you earn is really his payoff, isn't it?" I looked at the man I'd lived with for 5 years. He would rather believe a dramatic story from his ex than the exhaustion on his wife's face. If you can't stand cheaters who love to smear other people, and you want to watch an ordinary ICU nurse use the driest, most brutal proof to slap liars in the face, hit subscribe right now. Because what happens next is going to be painfully satisfying. I tossed the photos back onto the table. The fatigue vanished, replaced by the calm of someone who lives beside the line between life and death. "Fine, David," I said, strangely steady. "You believe Vanessa and Chloe. You believe that at 1:15 p.m. today I was at a 5-star hotel. The proof is right there," Chloe sneered. "Good," I nodded, pulling my phone from my scrub pocket. "But Chloe, you and Vanessa picked the wrong profession to lie to. If I worked in an office, maybe I'd be helpless without receipts. But I'm an ICU nurse." I looked David straight in the eye. "Do you know what I have to do to pull a controlled pain med for a patient? I have to scan my fingerprint on the Pyxis machine, and that biometric system doesn't lie like your sister does." David slammed the bedroom door and announced he needed space to think about splitting assets. I was left alone in the small downstairs office where I usually keep up with my medical certifications. I sat down without turning on the overhead light, letting the blue glow of my laptop wash over my tired face. My hands were still shaking, not from fear but from low blood sugar. I hadn't eaten since noon after that horrific code. I looked down at my hands, rough, Skin cracked from too much sanitizer, nails cut down to the quick. Chloe and Vanessa thought they'd staged the perfect cheating scandal. Photos, location, timestamp, 1:15 p.m., their chosen time of death. They assumed it was lunch break. For office workers, maybe. For an ICU nurse, lunch break is a luxury concept. I opened my laptop and plugged in my security token to access the hospital network through the VPN. Epic EMR loaded. I pulled up my personal activity log. Every nursing action is logged, but I needed something stronger than a line of text. I needed biometrics. I logged into the Pyxis MedStation system, the automated med cabinet that holds tightly controlled drugs like morphine, fentanyl, and Dilaudid. To open those drawers, you don't just type a password, you have to scan your fingerprint on the BioID sensor. I filtered the data for 1 RPM to 1:30 p.m. What popped up made me smile, coldly. 1:10 p.m. Bed 4, Mr. Miller, post-open heart surgery, had severe pain. SpO2 dropped. 1:12 p.m. The on-call physician ordered fentanyl 50 mcg IV. 1:14 p.m. Emily Vance, user ID, EV88821, accessed Pyxis Station MER3. Authentication method, right index fingerprint. Action, withdrew 1 vial of fentanyl 100 mcg. 1:16 p.m. Emily Vance scanned Mr. Miller's wristband barcode to confirm the correct patient. 1:17 p.m. Emily Vance documented medication administration in the system. I stared at the line. 1:14 p.m. Right index fingerprint. At the exact moment Chloe swore I was holding a wine glass at the Ritz-Carlton, my finger was on a biometric scanner pulling meds to keep someone alive. I screenshot the entire log, but I know David. Blind jealousy would make him reach for excuses. Maybe you had someone scan for you. Maybe you hacked the system. I needed physical proof, something on my body that the woman in those photos didn't have. I picked up the fake photos David had left on the table. I turned the desk lamp all the way up and inspected them closely. Whoever they chose was smart. Similar build, similar hair, even a fake mole placed just right. Her hand around the wine glass was slim and spotless. I looked at my own right arm. This afternoon, during the rush with bed 4, an IV line slipped and splashed a bunch of betadine across my wrist and forearm. I scrubbed, but betadine is basically a dye. It sinks into skin and leaves a blotchy orange-yellow stain that takes days to fade. I held my arm up under the light. The stain was still there, splotched from wrist to elbow like an old bruise. In the 1:15 p.m. photos, her arm was pale and pristine. I took a photo of my arm next to my laptop screen, showing the current time. Proof. From her 2. The betadine stain. Unless I can bleach my skin in 15 minutes and then re-stain it on command, the woman in the photo isn't me. Now I could prove I was innocent. But that wasn't enough. I was the accused, and also the one who managed the financial keys to this household. If Chloe was at the Ritz to stage that photo, she spent money. And with what? She's unemployed. The only money she has is the authorized user card David gave her. I logged into the Chase app and opened credit card management. My card, gas and hospital coffee. Chloe's authorized user card. A string of pending charges lit up like a warning signal. 11:45 a.m. Uber trip, $38.50. 12:30 p.m. The Ritz-Carlton Lounge, 160 $. Food and drinks for 2. 2 p.m. Uber trip, 42 ka. So Chloe was there. She even drank and ate at the exact place she used as her fake set. But there was another transaction. Stranger. And it wasn't on the credit card. It was on Venmo, linked to the joint checking account David uses to send her spending money. I opened David's Venmo. I set it up. I know the password. The public feed was hidden, but the private history wasn't. At 2:15 p.m. today, David, really Chloe using his phone or access, sent hung 200. Recipient, Sarah M., Freelance model. Note, heat rushed to my face. $200. Was that the price tag on my marriage? Chloe used her own brother's money to hire a freelance model to impersonate his wife and blow up his family. The cruelty and stupidity made me nauseous. I tapped Sarah M. Hoar's Venmo profile. It linked to Instagram. Her story was still up. A boomerang in the Ritz-Carlton lobby, raising a glass of wine, wearing that exact white silk robe. Caption: Job of the day. Acting like a cheating wife. Easy money. I saved the video. I printed the Pixis log. I photographed the stain on my arm. Tomorrow, I wasn't going to the hospital. I was scheduling a special surgery in my own living room. The patient was this marriage, and the malignant tumor named Chloe was getting cut out. The office wall clock read 3 a.m. The house sat in fake quiet. Upstairs, David was passed out from alcohol, and Chloe was probably dreaming about the designer bags she'd buy after kicking me out. They slept well because they thought I was just some small-town nurse who didn't know tech beyond taking blood pressure. They forgot one thing. ICU nurses are trained to spot tiny abnormalities in living systems, and this marriage was showing all the signs of metastatic cancer. I had my alibi, the Pixis fingerprint log, and proof of fraud, the Venmo payment. But I still needed to know, why now? Why would Vanessa, David's ex from 5 years ago, suddenly team up with Chloe to wreck my family? Was it really just jealousy? I decided to check the family's financial vitals again. I logged into our joint savings account at Chase, the emergency fund David and I built for a roof repair this summer. The balance read $245.15. I stared. The last time I checked, it was $15,000. I scrolled the transaction history. 3 weeks ago, a cash withdrawal at the teller window. The signature on the scanned slip was David's, but slightly shaky, like someone rushing or being pressured. Or did David do it willingly? No. David is cheap. He would never drain the emergency fund without talking to me. I traced where the money went. It wasn't transferred. It was pulled in cash. But that same day, on Vanessa's Facebook page, I follow her with a burner account, she posted, "Just closed an amazing investment lot with a trusted partner. You're a real estate queen towards new beginnings." The data points started connecting. Vanessa is a real estate agent. She's been struggling because the market froze. I know this from the news. Chloe is a cash-starved debtor, and David is the naive cash cow sitting on an $800,000 house in Arlington that doubled in value over 5 years. If David divorced me for cheating, he could use it as an excuse to push me out empty-handed, or at least Chloe would plant that idea in his head. Then they'd sell the house. Vanessa would get her commission, around $24,000, and Chloe would claw a cut from her brother's proceeds. This wasn't a jealousy stunt. This was an organized asset grab. I went back to the most important lead, the stand-in model, Sarah M. I'd found her Instagram. I needed her on my side. Girls who take jobs like this usually do it for money, not personal hatred. I drafted a DM on Instagram from my real account and attached a screenshot of the Venmo payment and a photo of my nurse badge. "Hi, Sarah. I'm Emily Vance, the real wife you impersonated today at the Ritz-Carlton. I'm not blaming you for taking the gig. Actors need money. But you just accepted $200 from a stolen payment method, my husband's account coach card. That makes you a participant in fraud and extortion. I can call the police right now, or you can help me. If you send me your full messages with the people who hired you, Chloe, Fawn, Vanessa, I'll treat you as an innocent witness and won't pursue you. You have 10 minutes. I held my breath. 3:15 a.m. Would a young woman even be awake? 3 minutes later, scene. Then the typing bubbles. Her message came in. "OMG, I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't know it was that serious. They told me it was just a joke to test your husband's loyalty before your anniversary. I swear. Send me the proof. Right now. I typed back. 15 screenshots of a group iMessage thread came through. Group name, Project Ritz. Members, Chloe, Vanessa, and Sarah M. I read line after line, my blood boiling. Vanessa, 10 hours a.m. Remember, Emily has a mole under her left ear. Sarah, draw a fake one there. Angle it so David recognizes it but can't see the face clearly. Chloe, 10:05 a.m. Don't worry, my brother is dumb. He's already blinded by jealousy. The second he sees the robe, he'll lose it. Vanessa, 11:30 a.m. I booked room 304. Did David's card pay the deposit yet, Chloe? Chloe, yep. He doesn't check bank alerts. Hurry, I need him to sign divorce papers before the weekend so we can list the house next month. I owe the bookies $50K. I saved every screenshot into an encrypted folder. So that was it. Chloe owed $50,000 in gambling debt. Vanessa wanted to sell the house for commission and revenge. They saw my husband as a fool and me as a disposable obstacle. I looked out the window. Dawn was starting to bleed in. I went to the bathroom and faced the mirror. The circles under my eyes were darker than ever, and the betadine stain was still bright yellow. But the woman staring back wasn't the same Emily who used to swallow insults from her in-laws. This Emily held the truth. I printed the entire Project Ritz thread. I clipped it together with the Pixis fingerprint log and the emptied saving statement. I brewed a pot of coffee strong enough to wake the dead. The smell filled the house, stirring the people sleeping in their fake victory. 6:30 a.m. I heard footsteps on the stairs. David came down, hair a mess, holding his head from the hangover. Chloe followed in silk pajamas, probably purchased with her brother's money, looking bright and smug. "You're still here?" David grumbled when he saw me at the table, dressed and composed. "I figured you'd have the decency to disappear." "Good morning, honey." "And good morning, sister," I said with the brightest smile I'd worn in years. "I'm not going anywhere. Actually, I invited a few guests to breakfast." The doorbell rang. "Who is that?" Chloe frowned. "Oh, just a few friends," I said, getting up to open the door. "Your lawyer and the private investigator I hired last night." There was no private investigator. I said that to rattle them. But the person at the door was someone they didn't expect. Officer Roberts, hospital security, whom I'd called to witness the security procedures. With him was a courier holding a subpoena packet my lawyer friend drafted overnight. The party was starting. David stared at the uniformed security officer and the unfamiliar man with a briefcase, my lawyer friend, completely thrown. "What the hell is this, Emily? Are you turning my house into a circus?" He snapped, rubbing his aching temples. "No, David. This is a consult," I said, setting my laptop and a thick file on the table and sliding the fake photos aside. "And the patient is our marriage. Prognosis: very poor." Chloe folded her arms, trying to look calm, but her eyes kept darting to the lawyer's briefcase. "Who are you trying to scare? You brought security to prove you work hard? That doesn't mean you didn't use your lunch break to do something shady." "You're right, Chloe. People can lie, but bodies don't," I said, then turned to Officer Roberts. "Officer, can you explain to David the protocol for pulling fentanyl at our hospital?" Officer Roberts, a stern 50-year-old, nodded. "To open Pixis for Schedule II meds, a nurse must scan a fingerprint. The data is transmitted directly to secured servers. It can't be forged, and you can't have someone else scan for you because wide-angle cameras record the entire access." I opened my laptop and mirrored the screen to the living room TV. The log appeared clearly. 1:14 p.m. Emily Vance, right index fingerprint, withdrew fentanyl. At 1:15 p.m. yesterday, while the woman in these photos was holding a wine glass with a perfectly clean hand, I said, rolling up my sleeve to show the blotchy yellow betadine stain. My finger was on a biometric scanner pulling meds to save a life. Unless I can clone myself, or that woman is a fake. David stared at the TV, then at my arm. Doubt finally crept into his eyes. But Vanessa saw you. That mole? Ah, the mole, I said with a thin laugh. Great detail. It cost $1,200. I clicked to the next slide. A Venmo screenshot appeared. David sent $1,200 to Sarah M. Froese, freelance model. Along with it were the Project Ritz group chat screenshots the model sent me before dawn. David, look, I said, pointing to Vanessa's line. Remember, Emily has a mole under her left ear. Draw a fake one. Your ex and your sister didn't just hire a stand-in. They used your own money to pay her. Chloe's face drained. She lunged for my laptop. Liar! You photoshopped this. You hacked my account. Officer Roberts stepped in fast, blocking her. His presence made Chloe hesitate. David grabbed his phone with shaking hands and opened Venmo. He stared at yesterday's transaction. Chloe? He looked up, his voice breaking. You used my phone when I was drunk. You said you were borrowing it to order food. David, let me explain. She's setting us up, Chloe shouted, but her voice wobbled with fear. Not done, I continued, my voice sharp as a scalpel. David, remember the $15,000 we saved for the roof? Do you think you withdrew it for an investment? Or did someone forge your signature? I dropped the emptied bank statement on the table. Chloe owes $50,000 in gambling debt, David. She and Vanessa staged this because it benefits them. They want you to divorce me fast, sell this house, and split the proceeds to pay off her debt. You're not the victim of a cheating wife. You're the prey of your own sister. David stared at the statement. Balance. $245.50. He turned to Chloe. His expression shifted from confusion to pure horror. The sister he'd always protected, always defended against his wife, was nothing but a leech. What did you do? David roared, his voice echoing through the house. You took my money? You hired someone to impersonate my wife? I had to, Chloe sobbed, collapsing onto the floor. They said they'd cut off my fingers. I was just borrowing it. Vanessa said once we sold the house, we'd pay you back double. You have to save me, David. I'm your sister. I watched it without satisfaction, only nausea. David, I said, pulling his attention back. You believed a gambling addict and a calculating ex instead of the wife who's lived with you for 5 years. The wife who worked herself to exhaustion to help pay for this house. I motioned to my lawyer friend. He placed a thin packet on the table. This isn't an apology letter, David, I said. It's a police report for fraud and identity theft. With the chat logs and bank records, Chloe could be looking at 3 to 5 years. Chloe screamed and grabbed David's leg. Don't let her do this. David, save me. David stood there, frozen. He looked at me with watery eyes. Emily, I'm sorry. I was so stupid. I was drunk. Being drunk isn't an excuse, David. I cut him off. The real issue is distrust. You picked a side, and you picked wrong. I picked up my bag. You have 2 options right now. 1. You sign this report, throw Chloe out, and let the law do its job. 2. You keep covering for her, and I'll file this along with divorce papers and name you as an accomplice. The room went dead silent, except for Chloe's pathetic sobbing on the floor. David looked at his sister, then at me, the woman with betadine on her arm, the only person who'd actually been carrying him for years. He took a deep breath, pushed Chloe's hands off his leg, and said, hoarse but firm, call the police. 20 minutes after David's call, Arlington police arrived. The air inside what used to be our home was cold, charged with the gunpowder smell of a legal war. Chloe couldn't hold her usual smug attitude anymore. When the officer read the arrest for fraud and unauthorized credit card use, she wailed and clung to David's sleeve like a child. Don't let them take me. I'm your sister. It was Vanessa. She pushed me. She said if we got Emily out, you'd go back to her, and she'd give me money to pay my debt. That panicked confession was the final nail in the coffin for both masterminds. David stood there watching his sister get cuffed and led to the squad car, his face gray and hollow. He didn't say a single word to defend her. The brutal reality, being used by his own family, knocked the arrogance right out of him. As for Vanessa, she thought she was safe because she didn't personally swipe a card. Wrong. That same morning, I sent the entire Project Ritz chat thread and the model's statement to the Real Estate Association's ethics board. With evidence of an organized scheme to defraud a client, David, and extort money, Vanessa's license was suspended indefinitely, and she soon received a subpoena as a co-conspirator in Chloe's case. That afternoon, the house went frighteningly quiet. David sat at the dining table with his head in his hands. The whiskey bottle was empty, but he was fully sober. Painfully sober. "Emily," David said when he saw me dragging a suitcase downstairs. His voice was raw. Where are you going?" "To my parents' place for a few days," I said, not slowing down. David jumped up and blocked my path. He dropped to his knees and grabbed my hand, the one still stained with betadine. "I'm sorry. I swear I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I was wrong. I kicked Chloe out. I'll cut off Vanessa. We can start over, right? You're my wife." I looked at the man kneeling at my feet. For 5 years, I loved him. I carried debt with him. I gave up breaks to pick up extra shifts so we could pay for this house. And when the storm hit, his first move wasn't to protect me. It was to believe a blurry photo and join the people trying to destroy me. I gently pulled my hand free. "David, do you know the golden rule in the ICU?" I asked quietly. He shook his head. "Lost. When a part has turned necrotic, we have to cut it out to save the rest. If we leave it, it kills the patient." I looked him in the eyes. "My trust in you went necrotic at 4:30 p.m. yesterday, when you threw those photos in my face and called me a whore. You don't love me, David. You love your ego. You'd rather believe I'm dirty than accept you have a rotten sister." "But I fixed it. I called the police on her," David begged. "You called the police because you missed the $15,000 in the savings account, not because you cared that I was falsely accused," I said, stepping around him with my suitcase. "The divorce papers will be filed on Monday. I want half of this house. I earned it with night shifts and fingerprint scans that rubbed my skin raw. I deserve it." I walked out the door into late afternoon light and took a deep breath. No more disinfectant. No more David's alcohol. Just the smell of freedom. The betadine stain on my hand will fade after a few washes. But what I learned today will be a permanent scar. One that reminds me what truth is worth. We're living in a world where fakes are easier than ever. Deep fakes, stand-ins, forged messages. Money can buy all of that. But there are things money can't buy and lies can't imitate. Your sweat, your work, the biometric data from your hard days, the integrity you build second by second. Never bow your head for something you didn't do. Don't cry and beg people who already decided to plug their ears. Use data. Use logic. Be as cold as a scalpel and cut the truth free from shiny layers of lies. I'm Emily Vance. I lost a husband, but I saved my self-respect. And believe me, that was the most successful rescue of my life. Thanks for following this vindication story. If you believe women need to be strong and keep proof in their hands to protect themselves, hit like and share. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next justice drama story. Work hard and keep your records clean. See you next time.